Welcome back. In this section, I'm going to start on page 352, which is using CSS to format page content. Remember, you've heard me say it a million times, CSS is your friend. Always, always, always use CSS to format your pages. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually work on a design CSS file. That is going to come after the actual Bootstrap file. We don't want to mess around with the Bootstrap file. I don't mess around with it when I create websites using Bootstrap. I just make all my changes in a separate CSS file and not have to worry about anything else. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to have to attach it first. Let's go into Code View and see what we have over here, which is the title. Now notice that it has not been named yet, which is something that the book should have had you named right away. Always remember the first two things you should do when you create a new file is save it and name it. So we're going to name it in just a minute and take a look over here. We're going to have a link reference in this over here. It's the Bootstrap file. You don't have to worry about all this mumbo jumbo. Just remember link and the name of the file. So what I'm going to do here is, before we go on, let's just name it. And we'll just call it Boulevard Website. And that takes care of that. Hitting the Enter key actually isn't the brightest thing in the world. Just click over here. If it asks you to refresh, click on Refresh over here. So again, you have all these other things in here, HTML shim and response for IE support. If you're still using IE8, then I don't know what to tell you. We live in a world where browsers are constantly changing, and if you're doing web page design for a living and you try to have everything work in every single browser, you are going to have a very rough time. So I would suggest that you just review this stuff over here and put warnings over here, do the best that you can. But if somebody is using a very, very old browser, that's beyond your control. And hopefully that they will upgrade over here. So we don't really need to worry too much about this stuff over here. It's putting it in as a warning in here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the CSS Designer. And I'm going to choose all here. And we have sources over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the plus button. And it's going to ask us create new CSS file, attach one, or define a page. We're going to create, actually, we're going to attach an existing one. Then it's basically going to say, where is it? We just need to find it. Notice that if there's a CSS folder, notice everything is lowercase. I addressed that actually with the book manufacturer. I don't know if they made any changes because I suggested or just dumb luck. But anyway, this is what we have, and we want the design. We don't want to add the Bootstrap because it's already there. Click on OK, and make sure we click on link. If you choose import, then what it's going to do is just copy all that code into the file, which you really don't want to do that. So we're going to click on OK, and boom, all it did was add this link. But everything becomes available, and notice now at the top over here, we have the design CSS available where we did not before. So I'm going to click on it, and let's just take a look at it. Let me move this out of the way. And you can see it has changed the body background. It's got an image, and it's got all kinds of neat stuff over here. The H1 tag is redefined. The H2 tag has got redefined. The P tag, a feature section which you're going to add, has all these different things in here. So let's go back into the actual file and let's see what's changed. Well, everything's black. We have white text over here. We have a background image, this little star over here, and we have all kinds of neat stuff. So that takes care of that. Let's go back into Code View. And remember that when you click on Code View, and if you're showing this design, just click on source code. That will take you to the actual file that's open. Notice that the design comes second. So that means that something in H1 tag is defined in Bootstrap. but an H1 tag is designed in design, then it's going to be the one in design. Whatever comes last is the one that the browser is going to recognize. So we have done all this stuff over here. We're going to click on the 991. We've added the file. On the top of page 353, you see what it looks like, which is pretty much similar to what we have. Remember to based upon your individual settings, it may or may not look exactly the same. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click the shopping element over here. Just going to click in it, and notice it brings up the H2 tag over here. And we want to click on that over here. I'm going to turn the page real quick. So what we want to do is we want to, on the bottom here, on the tag selector, we want to click the div tag just before it. So let me show you what we have here now. Right now, all we have is absolutely nothing selected. So let's go down here and click on the div tag over here. And let's go back in. And now we have all this selected. Notice, here's the H2 tag. It wanted the div tag just before it's selected as well. So now we have, it says div in here, so we know that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a tag. So we're going to click on the plus sign. And we're actually going to add a class. Going to start typing, and remember, if it's a class, you must put the period first. As soon as you put the period, all of the classes that are available for you are going to show up. So I'm going to start typing FEA, and there's feature section. Just click on it, and boom, it's all changed. You can see how the header's changed. The text is changed. It's got a little background. We're going to do the same thing. Now, if you remember that you could also add that from down here in the class by clicking this here. The problem with that is look how many millions of classes that you have in here. So you probably would take a long time getting down there. So easiest thing to do is click over here. And let's make sure that we have the right one in here. And I may have accidentally added a class. So let's go back in here, and we'll do that in code view. I'll show you how. So let's do that right now. And notice we have div class equals center block. We really don't want to do that. So let's delete all this. And so I'm hoping that you understand how valuable this inspector is over here. So notice it doesn't say anything but div. We're going to add a class. We're going to type in FEA, feature section, boom. Do the same thing over here. Click on the div over here. Click on the div. Type in .feature section. And boom, we're done there. Good time to save everything. That takes care of 354 and 355. Now we're going to actually create new media queries. Really easy. You could type the stuff in if you want. And I'm going to deviate from the book a little. You can do it however way you want to do it. So I think you may like it my way, but if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you certainly can. So I'm on the top of page 356 with the index file open, which it's open. We're going to use to preview the 4 different things, which we've done. Boom, 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 and boom. And you can see how exciting that is. And it's always a good idea to preview them. If there's an issue, that's a good time to find out before you actually publish it right over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the design in here. And I'm turning the page. I just finished 356. And let's go over some of the stuff. Let me take this out of the way. So I think we talked about this here. We have the background. We have the H1. We have a P tag. We have a feature section. We have a feature section with a P. That means only affect anything that is a P tag that's within a class called feature section. So because we have the P tag over here, if it's inside the feature section, it will be overridden by this. So I could change this to 1 million. It will not affect this because it's only going to affect a P tag inside a feature section. However, when you look at what your page looks like, you might be slightly depressed in here. So you can see all this stuff in here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change some of these things in here manually. So I'm locating the H1 tag in here, and I'm changing it to 20. That takes care of that. You can see the effects that has over there. Then we're going to change the P section, and we're going to change that to 14. And we're going to locate the feature P, and we're going to change that to 12. That takes care of that. Now, just for the heck of it, let me change it to 52, and ooh, that kind of messes things up. But notice, doesn't change this. So let's go back to 12, and boom. That takes care of all that. I'm now on number 6 on the bottom of page 357. I'm saving everything now. Notice if I click on the Save All, it's going to save both the index file. It's going to save actually every file that's open that has any changes. So let's go back to Live over here, and let's bring up the CSS Designer over here. And we're going to actually create a media query. It's pretty easy to do. So we want to make sure that we have the Design button open, the Design CSS button open. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the Add Media button. So let's go down to here. We have it open.